Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Smiley. I have a really cool book I want to share with you. It's by Eve Bunting. She's the lady that wrote it, and it's called Pop's Bridge. And there's really awesome pictures inside by C.F. Payne. And this little boy, there's two little boys, and their daddies both work on this huge bridge they're building. And it's actually about the real San Francisco Bridge, the building of it. It was very dangerous. And some people said there's no way you can build a bridge across this big bay, this big piece of water, and it was super deep water, but they did. So this is kind of a cool story, and this little boy is so proud of his daddy, but he's also scared because it's a dangerous job. Pop's Bridge. I'll show you the picture first. I love this picture because you can see the bridge isn't finished. See how they built the towers? And then look, there's no road. They just have the cables going. So they're building piece by piece, and they're going to connect. And on this side too, they have to connect it to the bridge. Okay. My pop is building the Golden Gate Bridge. Almost every day after school, Charlie Shue and I go to Fort Point to watch. The bridge will stretch across the bay from San Francisco to Marin. People said this bridge could not be built. Some call it the Impossible Bridge. They say the bay is way too deep and that the currents are way too strong in the water and that the winds blowing in from the ocean are so fierce and strong. But I know that my pop can do it. Whenever I say he's building the bridge, my mom laughs. There's a crew of more than 1,000 men working on that bridge, Robert, including Charlie's dad, she reminds me. I know that, but I just shrug. To me, it's Pop's bridge. Pop's a high Iron Man balancing on the slatted catwalks, spinning and bending cables. He climbs so high that sometimes the clouds come down around his shoulders. When the fog rolls in, he disappears completely. That's why the high Iron Men are called the Skywalkers. Charlie's dad is a painter. The painters start work long before the bridge is even finished. My pop says if it wasn't for them, the bridge would rust away, but I think he's just saying that to be nice. The Skywalkers have the most important job of all. So here you can see what Charlie's dad does. Can you see that these are little people? That's how huge this bridge is. And there's Charlie's dad. He's probably one of the painters. And then up here, you see the Skywalkers, and they're up there working on the cables. Here he is looking through some binoculars, and he sees the bridge. Those are the towers of the bridge. Who do you think he's looking for? Make a prediction. At Fort Point, I look for Pop through the binoculars that Mom lends me. The workers all look alike in their overalls and swabby hats, but I can always find my Pop because of the red kerchief that he ties around his throat. It's our little scarlet signal. So he ties a little handkerchief around his neck, and that's how Robert knows that's his daddy up there. I don't worry much about him on days when the sun sparkles on the water, when the sailboats skim below. It's so beautiful, I can forget that it's dangerous too. But when the wind blows through the Golden Gate, the men cling to the girders like caterpillars on a branch. On a foggy day, my hands sweat on the binoculars. Where is he? When I find him, I try not to look away, as though the force of my eyes can keep him from falling. It's a big picture, and he's making a puzzle. Can you see the puzzle they're making? At my house, Charlie and I work on a jigsaw puzzle that Mom bought for us. When it's done, it will show how an artist thinks the bridge will look. Charlie and I work on the puzzle almost every single day. Bending over it, I feel like I'm building the real thing, along with Pop. I'm a Skywalker too. We're almost done, Charlie says. I wonder which of us will put in the last piece. I shrug, but what he says makes me think. My Pop built that bridge. He should set in the last piece of the piece in place. That's only fair, even though Charlie might think his dad should do it. When Charlie isn't looking, I slip one of the pieces into my pocket. Later, I hide it in my room. I'm saving it for Pop. Now, do you think that's fair that he hid a piece of the puzzle? They're working on it together. I don't know. What do you think? Okay, now this is kind of a dark picture, but this is the bridge at night. And it's not finished yet, but you could see the moon and the stars, and there's Robert, his mom and dad, and they're looking at it. The Impossible Bridge is nearly finished. One evening, Mom and Pop and I walked down to Fort Point. The bridge hangs between the stars and the sea. It's like a giant harp, my Pop says, a harp for the angels to play. I look up at him, and I can tell this wasn't just a job to my Pop. He loves this bridge. In San Francisco, there is great excitement. Everyone is waiting for opening day. Charlie and I have watched nearly every bit of the bridge go up. We saw two spans come together from opposite directions. We saw them meet. We saw the roadway go in, and my Pop did it. No one can be as proud as I am, not even Charlie. After all, my dad is a Skywalker. I'll bet Charlie Sorry. I'll bet Charlie's pretty proud too. Here's our next picture. Ooh, look at that. Can you see? It looks like that could be the bottom of the bridge, doesn't it? And it looks like there's some piece of something hanging down here. Okay, now I'm going to read this part. You ready? And then one day, something terrible happens. Charlie and I are watching as the scaffolding pulls away from the bridge. There is a noise like a train wreck as scaffolding crashes down into a safety net. The net tears loose and men go with it, swirling into the swirling tide. That means into the water. I can't breathe, I can't think. But then I look hard through the binoculars and I see Pop still on the bridge with his red handkerchief whipping. Pop, I whisper in relief. Beside me, Charlie is screaming, "Where is my dad? Where is my dad?" We had seen him working close to that scaffolding, and I can't see him now. So something broke loose here. Hopefully Charlie's daddy's okay. Here's the picture. Okay. Well, we'll find him, I promise. We have to. I sweep the binoculars up and down the bridge cables, looking at every painter hanging high on Jacob's ladder, swinging in the bosom's chair like a knot on a rope. Be there, Mr. Shu, I plead, and then I stop. I spot him. Over by that cross girder, I yell. Charlie fumbles for the binoculars. I help him. He looks where I point. He's there. Oh, he's safe, Charlie gasped. The next day, we find out that only 2 of the 12 men who fell in the water were saved. So you had 12, and if you take away 2, that means 10 people died. And that's true, that really did happen. Well, here's a little boy. Look at Robert. He's laying in bed, and what do you think he's thinking about? Is he worrying about something? Probably. I think about that day. At night, half asleep, I see that bridge shake. I hear the crash. One of those men in the water could have been Pop or Charlie's dad. I finally understand and I feel ashamed. Equal work, equal danger for Skywalkers and for painters. Okay. They're screwing in the screws, and there's some important men in suits watching. The work goes on, and a new safety net is put in place. Pop says there's less talking and joking now among the men. There's a remembering. But the bridge must be finished, and at last it is. We watch through Mom's binoculars as the golden spike is drilled in at the center of the main span. Now the celebration can begin. It's finished. Look at this picture. There's Robert and there's Charlie. On opening day, no cars are allowed on the bridge. Thousands of people walk and dance and roller skate across the bridge, including us. I wear Pop's handkerchief around my neck. There's a man riding a unicycle. There's another on stilts. Navy biplanes fly above the great steel towers. Battleships and cruisers sail below the bridge and into the San Francisco Bay. Wind strums its music through the stretch of the cables, and I think of my Pop's harp. Oh, what do you think that is? Somebody's cutting the puzzle piece. Look at the puzzle. Can you see what's missing? One piece. That night, our family has a party with Charlie and his dad. There's stewed chicken and Chinese noodle dish that Charlie's dad made and a snickerdoodle pie. The jigsaw puzzle sits on the coffee table with a gap in the middle. I've searched and searched for that missing piece, says my mother. A good thing we didn't leave our bridge with a space like that, says Mr. Shoe. Pop chuckles. We'd be working still. It's time. I slip upstairs to get the hidden puzzle piece, and then I find a scissors, and I cut the piece carefully in half. I go back down and I put the half piece in Mr. Shoe's hand and the other in my pup's. Finish it, I say. It's your bridge. It belongs to both of you. That's nice, wasn't it? My mother raises her eyebrows and Charlie says, "Hey, where?" But I just watch the two pieces fit in perfectly, so smoothly. Team effort, says Pop. There they are. We raise our glasses of sarsaparilla to celebrate the laborers and the riveters and the carpenters and the painters and the skywalkers and all the men who work together to build the most beautiful bridge in the world. And that is about a real bridge, the San Francisco Bridge. And it says a note from the author. It says the Golden Gate is the stretch of water between San Francisco and Marin County in California. And before 1933, the only way you could get to this part of California was by a ferry. And a ferry is a boat that cars can drive onto, and then it drives them apart. So this was really deep water, and people said there's no way they can build that bridge, but they did. And in the United States of America, we love a challenge, and we have lots of very smart people who've built some pretty amazing things. So this was Pop's Bridge. Draw me a picture of it and write a few sentences to tell me how you would feel if you were Robert or Charlie and your Pop was working on this bridge. You probably have a lot of feelings, wouldn't you? Okay, thanks for being such great listeners. I know it was a long story. I hope you enjoyed it, boys and girls. Have a good day.